All right, today we are graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So remember that linear just means line. Um, so we're basically graphing lines in a certain form. So slope-intercept form, we're going to fill in some blanks, is y equals mx plus b. Now, you might already know what some of these are, but you might not. So b here, we're going to label with green. B is equal to the y-intercept. Intercept. And what does it mean? It means where the line of the graph crosses the y-axis. So if you look down here, the y-axis is right here. It goes straight down. And the intercept is where the line crosses the axis over here on this one. So now let's go with m. Well, we know from yesterday's worksheet that m is equal to slope. Remember we talked about mountain and slope. So our slope is, remember, rise over run. So we're going to put that here so we remember rise over run. Now these two graphs down here are graphs that you saw on last night's assignment. They're the last two graphs on your worksheet. So what I want to do is notice the equation for these two graphs. So this equation right here is y equals 1/4 x plus 2. A lot of times in algebra you'll write the equation right on the line. And we figured out that our slope, our m, was 1/4. Remember we picked 2 points. We went rise over run, so we went up 1/4, our slope being 1/4. Now we want to talk about our b. Our b over here, remember our slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and the b is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is just where the line crosses the y-axis. So we're looking at this point right here. So we're actually looking at this 2 right here and comparing it to what value this point is at. This is at 0, 2. If we put an ordered pair right there, this is 0, 2. And notice this right here is also a 2. So our b is 2, and it's a positive 2, so we add it. So that's where we get y equals mx plus b, where our y is y, our m is our slope, 1/4, x, plus our y-intercept, which is 2. All right, so for our next one, this is the second graph we graphed, our last graph on yesterday's worksheet. Why don't you guys pause here and fill in m and b. Okay, so for m, you should have gotten -1/3, and b, you should have gotten a +3 again. Again, our slope is -1/3. Our y-intercept is 3, and we can even see that on the graph. Where is it crossing that y-axis? It's crossing at 0, 3. That is the coordinate. Okay, so let's do some of these. Instead of looking at the equations compared to the graphs, we're going to use some of these equations to graph our graphs. So number 1, we have y equals 1/4 x minus 1. So we're going to start with b. What is b? Well, b is -1. And we're going to start with b even though it's second, because that's always going to be our starting point. So we go to -1 on the y-axis because that is our y-intercept, right? This is really 0, -1. And we want to make sure we know that that's a coordinate right there. So we start with b, our y-intercept, and now we have our slope of 1/4. Well, let's count it out. We go up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, and we make our second point. So this is our rise over run. There's our second point of our graph. Now we're out of room. We can't go on anymore over here. So we're going to continue the pattern. We're going to go down and over this direction 4 and put our second point right there. Well, now we have 3 points and we can go ahead and graph this line. Of course, you're going to use your ruler. And notice our slope is the same, up 1 over 4 for both of these points. And if we talked about this yesterday, if we went up 2 over 8, 2 over 8 is equal to 1 over 4, because remember this is a proportional relationship, so it doesn't matter. So what is our m? Our m is 1 over 4. We're going to do one more like this, and then I'm going to get down to some of the other ones that I don't want you to get confused on. So why don't we do number 4 here. So we start at our b, and our b is -4. We're getting that from right here. Our slope is the number before the x. Our slope is our m. Our m is +4/3. So we know this is a positive graph. So let's start at -4. We put our coordinate there. Then we go up 1 over 3, or up 4 over 3. And then we do it again. We go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. And we put another coordinate. And there is our line. It's as easy as that. Of course, you're going to use a ruler. All right, now let's talk about the graph down here, x equals 5. Well, if we were to make an x and y chart, x equals 5, I would say, okay, x equals 5, y equals 1. If y equals 2, x is always going to equal 5. If y equals 0, x equals 5. If y equals 3, x still equals 5. So no matter what, x is going to equal 5. Well, what that looks like is a graph with all the x coordinates being equal to 5. We notice it right here along this, right at 5 on the x-axis. So our x equals 5 is a vertical line, which we know has a slope that is undefined from our graph, from our worksheet yesterday. And our b, well, b is our y-intercept, but it doesn't cross the y-axis, right? Because it's over here, and it's just going to keep going on and on forever in this direction. It will never cross the y-axis, so there's none. All right, now let's go to y equals 3. Well, if x equals 3 is a vertical line, can you guess what y equals 3 is? Again, we can do an x and y chart. If x equals 0, y equals 3. If x equals 1, y equals 3. If x equals -100, y still equals 3. So instead of our x values always being 5, over here our y values are always 3. So we go to 3 on the y and we make all of our coordinates. We can make every single one of these because y is always going to equal 3. This is a horizontal line. So we don't rise or run on this one, and we know from yesterday that our slope for a horizontal line is 0. So m equals 0, no slope. And b is our y-intercept. Where does it cross? Well, it crosses at 3, or 0, 3. All right, so on to the back. On the back, we see a bunch of lines. So for this one, I'm going to have you refer to number 9 on the previous sheet to come up with that equation. And for this one, I'm going to have you refer to number 8 on the previous sheet to come up with that equation. So I'm going to do one of these. I'm going to choose to do this one here, where we want the slope-intercept form. So we know we need y equals mx, and then we need some b here. Well, let's start with our b, because that's our starting point. So b is right here at y equals 3, so 3, or it's at 0, 3. That's the coordinate. Now what's our slope? Well, we want to pick another point. I'm going to pick this point here. What is my rise over run? I go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 4 over 1, and that's just equal to 4. So my m equals 4, my b equals 3. So my final answer for this one will be y equals 4x plus 3. That is the slope-intercept form. So why don't you guys go ahead and try this one here. I'll pause and just give you the answer, and then you can check yourself. Okay, so this is the one previous to this. Notice how our y-intercept is in between -1 and -2. So I called it about -1.5, or the coordinate 0, 1.5. My slope is up 4/6, and this is going in the negative direction. So I called it -2/3. And if you notice, we could have also done 2/3, up 2/3, up 2/3, because those are those proportional relationships. So my final answer is y equals -2/3 x, because it's negative, minus 1.5, because it's negative. So it's not plus, it's minus. All right, good luck. Please rewatch the video if you have any questions.